Hey, in this video we're going to look at how I compile a standalone command line program using Unity3D code. And this is for my finished game ChessCraft. And I've noticed that most programming tutorials show off incomplete or toy projects, so I thought this finished project might interest people. And this is a 2D game, but all of this applies to any 3D game. So an overview of the files we're going to be looking at. These are all the Unity files and more. So your standard assets folder on the top right here. I also have CLI, and all these files are only used by the command line interface. I have the CS project template used to make the .csproj file, and the SLN template, which is used to make the .sln file. There's two scripts we're going to cover here, compile and run, as well as setup-csproj-files. Because these files, these project files are created by Unity. However, these files are created by me. And what this looks like on the top left here, there's the ChessCraft project with the 4 different assemblies. But we also have the CLI project with the CLI assembly. And this has just the same sort of structure with assets scripts, but some scripts are missing. So for example, in Crafting Hub, there's only design.cs. And so this file is a general idea. Any piece and any board, they're a design. So they have a name, ID, description. And that applies to the command line interface or Unity. But for the ChessCraft Unity project, if I go in Crafting Hub, there's a few more which were not added to the CLI project because they have Unity dependencies. So I'm doing all this on Linux, and when I tried to do this 2 years ago, I ran into some problems with making a new project with Mono. So I really just copied what we had from the other project. So let's look at the 2 template files. This is the CS project template, which is just copied from the Unity CS project. I just renamed the namespace. And at the bottom, I've replaced all this big list of scripts with my own code. And this is going to be replaced by my list of scripts that I search. Then we have the SLN template, the solution template. And that looks like this. And I just copied it from the ChessCraft solution. The only difference here is I removed, so there's those 4 projects, those 4 assemblies. I removed them and just replaced them with CLI. And I made sure that I have only the project configurations for that and not all of the extra configurations for all the other assemblies. So for those 2 scripts, my compile script, it looks like this. It just checks if Unity has created its solutions yet, because I do use them to create my command line ones. So if you've started the project anew, you need to open up Unity and just open up a script and it'll make those files. Then it will just adjust and set up our project files and run xbuild on this solution. And then it'll run that binary and it'll use whatever command line arguments I want. As for the setup-csproj-files Python script, it will do a few things. Here it's just to search for all of our CS files. This will check whether it's a Unity script or not. And to do this, I see if we are using UnityEngine or using Unity Editor. If it finds that line, it'll check if there's like a compiler directive just before that. And I'll show what that means later. But this will return true or false if the CS file can be compiled without Unity. Here it will just get all those scripts. So given my ChessCraft folder, it'll look in all of the scripts and give me back just a list of all of the non-Unity scripts. This will create the csproj file. You give it that csproj template and then where you want it to be created, the new one. It'll open it up and it's just going to add this line and insert right here the full path to that non-Unity script CS file. And it's going to replace this placeholder with that whole list of scripts. And an important detail here is that this is going to happen every time I compile. So if I add a script or remove a script to the Unity project or to my command line, and I'm always adding and removing, I never really have to pay attention to my project file. It's going to be searched and updated for all the up-to-date CS scripts. This used to be more complicated, but for now it's actually just copying the template as is. And finally, I'm running Linux Ubuntu 18.04, which for some reason does not like the latest as the Lang version, so I changed it to 6 after Googling a bit. So that'll just be done automatically every time I run compile. And here's where it actually does that with the source template and the target we want to create. Now this was working great for about a year, but near the end of my project, when I wanted to do Google Play in-app purchases, it added the, that's not it, plugins. So it added the Unity purchasing plugin, and now Unity was smart and actually changed my project and added these first-pass items. And my understanding is that this will compile those plugins without any of my project. It'll just compile them, and then it'll move on to compiling these. Now suddenly my command line interface was acting a little funny and I had to tweak it, which was really just recopying the CSproj and solution files. Now it's not always the case that the code is 100% Unity or 100% command line. For example, my benchmark code, if I'm in Unity and in the debug menu, I can run a benchmark and we get results just as before that look like the command line. So I've used this compiler directive here called Unity3D, which does not exist actually by default. I had to add it, but this is the benchmark code. So for example, log hardware specs. The way that you count the processor count is different on a command line or not. So here I'm doing this if Unity3D. And so when I compile, if it's Unity3D, it'll only see this. The ones that do exist, if I Google Unity3D compiler directives, are all of these, but there is no is Unity because it's always Unity. At least that's what they thought. So this is why I've added a csc.rsp file. This is in assets right here on the top right. And very simply, that's all it is. So since this is in assets, this will not happen when I do the command line compilation. So this will be false. So back to benchmark, there are cases in here where I might write debug.log, but this is only available in Unity3D written as is. And just for convenience, because I don't want to have to write this every time, everywhere in my command line code, I have something Unity3D like. I've actually rewritten just a few Unity methods and classes. So in the main folder where assets is, there's the CLI folder, source, Unity. So this folder are kind of my drop-in replacements for debug, debug.log, mathf, random, and rectangle. So this is the command line rectangle, and actually it does a lot less than the Unity rectangle, but that's how I use it in ChessCraft. It's just this really, really basic container. So here's my substitute for the Unity debug class. For example, down here, log. So we're going to log text. This is how you get the code line number and the file path of what was called, to do it just like you see in debug.log. So when I run my benchmark, this is what this might look like. Yellow, the file, and the line. So I can actually type debug.log in any of my projects, even outside Unity. So the code you see in this video is free and open source with an MIT license, and I have some links to some of the code in the video description. If you have ideas for a next video, please let me know. The full version of ChessCraft is free to play, so check it out. And I love this game. I'm really happy I made it, and I'm glad to share it with you guys. And thanks for watching.